encryption on the back end? How is it that what pieces of that ecosystem provide that security that allows me to know that my data is safe? If I'm going to send a message, so say I'm in a financial institution, and I'm going to send a message to a regulatory agency that's in the government, and I'm going to have to transmit individual users' personal information and banking information to a regulatory body in the government. And I'm going to have to do this either through either a file, or I'm going to have to just send it across the wire. Where is it that Intel sits in that picture that I know that data is going to make it there safely and securely?
Yeah, so as you were talking before, like the foundation is a bigger picture, and what piece of that are we filling in there that makes this happen? So it sounds like that's less clear. Okay.
Yeah.
Shoot, we only have about...
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say we only have about 15 minutes left. I tell you, these interviews just go by quick. I want to make sure we spend a little time clicking down into a couple of these to help better characterize and get your feedback before we kind of sum it all up at the end. So, number one, you said that's something you expect from Intel. I'm going to go on actually to this. There's a detailed slide on it here. It's the third slide we've got. I'm curious, in the interest of time, we're not going to be able to go super deep on this one, but I would love it if you just kind of gave a quick read to the content that's here. And I just want to know if the things they're talking about in this bucket fit with what you were thinking the bucket was. Yeah.
So the first sentence that you have in there, some of the industry's most talented security-minded individuals are driving innovation at the company. I would expect that. Most of the large technology firms and technology companies can make a statement that would be very true, that would sound very similar to that. So it depends on, regardless of what I look around at, there are some extremely talented people out there that are just brilliant in a lot of ways. And I would expect some of these companies like Intel to try and grab as many of those people as they can get their hands on. So security to understand the future is we have built best-in-class product security development policies, processes, and tools. What tools does Intel provide that allows me to provide or to create or to have best-in-class product security? Or is this just more about the designing of the actual chipset themselves? I would assume that that's more just the chip cells. Yeah. I'm assuming at this point that it's just the building of the Intel chipsets themselves.
Yeah, and I can acknowledge that's a question point.
Yeah.
I guess I don't want to rat hole on it too long, just because I really want to make sure we get to the next one.
Yeah.
But I'm hearing you.
Transparent supply
the first
chain.
Point is
Yep. Go ahead. You can finish your question.
Oh, sorry. No. Why don't you go ahead? I just want to quickly cover off on those next couple. If they're basically, it's like are these the kind of things that in your mind, when you saw silicon security, like this is what you'd expect them to be talking about, or is something kind of missing?
So the third one, the transparent supply chain, that one I think sounds pretty good. Integrity of every component, accountability, traceability through our platform's certificates. To me, that's you partnering with other people in the industry that are providing the different pieces and parts, making sure that they all come together and work the way that they're supposed to. That they're not delivering a chipset that has a rootkit already built into it.
Right.
That one resonates. That one sounds good. Product assurance. Threat detection on that one sounds good. Rigorously tested and researched in the industry. So there's been a number of reported issues or concerns with certain instruction sets that are inside of the different CPUs, and it's not exclusive to Intel, by the way. But the threat detection, rigorously tested and researched in the industry, things still slip through. So that one I understand. I know that Intel would want to make sure that if everything is going to be built on top of their chipset and they are the foundation of all these systems that are being built, they're definitely going to want to make sure that they're as rigorously tested and researched as possible. But I also know that there are security flaws in some of those instruction sets as well.
Do you feel like Intel has given you sufficient ways to sort of diagnose or detect if you're having issues with hardware level?
I don't know. I don't know what tools or anything that Intel specifically provides to do that. The one that came to mind was, and like I said, it hits more than just Intel, but Spectre. And there was a couple of test kits that were put out there that allow you to determine whether or not your CPU is affected by that particular flaw in the instruction set in the chips themselves. And I didn't see Intel being the ones that put that out. Actually, I saw it was one of the security firms that put that kit out that allows you to check to see if you're affected and whether or not you need to bring down the software or the operating system patches that fix the hole on that.
Got it.
Because once you stamp the instruction set into your chips, unless you get a new chip, you can't really, you don't have like a flash that you can rewrite that with. So
right. Hey, before we kind of sum things up at the end here, I want to make sure and apologies, I just got to hop to this next one because we're
understand.
Running out of time.
Sorry.
No, it's not your fault. You have too much good insight.
I can go for a while, and that's actually part of the problem some days.
It's great. This is great. I'm curious, so when you saw number 2, the silicon-rooted hardening, you kind of said, I have no idea what this is. So I'd love you to take a second and digest this one and then tell me if this helps, does it fit with Intel, that kind of thing.
Hardened services across the systems, the BIOS, the OS, PMM, apps and contents and data. Environment, continuum security choices. So when I see the BIOS and the OS or the VMMs, virtual machines, that actually, so I understand. So if I look at silicon-rooted hardening, I would look at chipsets, BIOSes, firmwares. That's what I would look at when I see from a hardening of the surfaces across the systems. That actually makes more sense to me, because now you're talking about not just the chipset and the instruction set for it, but you're also talking about your firmware on the boards. You're talking about the BIOSes that are configurable but limited, but still control a lot of those pieces. That I would see. The OSs and the virtual machines, I don't know where Intel is partnering with those different pieces. I know they're partnering with most of the Microsoft technologies, the Windows environments, but I don't know about how Intel is partnering with things like the Mac OSs or the Linux, or the various different flavors of the Unix. Your FreeBSDs, your Ubuntu, your Red Hat Linux, and all that. Where is it that Intel partners with those? So I don't see that in what I deal with in my experiences. And then apps and content and data. Again, I'm not familiar with where Intel provides the help in those spaces. But I see it more on the hardening of the surfaces across the system. That actually makes sense to me. So your BIOS, your firmware, your chipsets. Yeah,
so that helps bring to life what they're talking about here. And is Intel credible with that?
Yes.
Yeah,
I would think that they are.
Okay. Hey, with our last 5 minutes, I want to go back to this second slide, this overall picture. And I want to sort of recap, we've been on a little journey here for the past 55 minutes together.
Yep.
And I'm curious if, when we first were looking at things, you seem to have some real questions about, where does Intel fit into this whole